and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a super quick personalised Christmas stocking that doesn't even need much measuring and no quilting and no complicated linings. Let's see what we've got. I used to make these before I was a quilt supplier. I used to make these and sell them on Etsy for people's children, and I had a lot of regular customers that ordered them each time they had a new baby. I had one lady in America and she had about 20 stockings. So this is the box where I keep all the, I used to save all sorts of ribbons and things. And this is my template. Look how battered it is. Oh my days, ready break. I think that's when the kids were little. I used to have that. It's so faded. I think it'll still be okay. And these are my templates for personalising it. And Mr. Oak will do these for me. So they're like bumpy letters. I think they're off a cereal packet as well. So I've got those. Calico. I usually use calico as the base because I think it just works. It's what I've always done. And then, oh, that's quite nice, isn't it? I quite like that one. And basically, I use scraps of fabric and I just plonk them on the stocking and zigzag them on, and then I cover the join with ribbon. So I'm going to set about making this stocking now for my friend's dog. If you're new here, I'm Ellie and welcome to my studio, Oak Haberdashery. It's a quilt and supplies business and it's basically powered by tea, and I'm always in a good mood when I've got a cup of tea. So thank you for joining me and I hope you enjoy my videos. So to make your stocking, you are going to need some cardboard to make a template. So I just used, this is an ancient template, I just used some cereal packs. You can either draw the shape freehand or find a stocking that you already have that's the size that you like and just draw around it. Remember to add possibly about 1/2 inch around the edge for a seam allowance. But as you can see, I just drew this on some opened out cereal packets, and this has been going for about 10 years and it still works. You're going to need some calico, probably about 1/2 metre, but it's usually quite cheap. So it might be worth getting a metre. And if you can get heavyweight calico, that is the best, but any calico will do. And then you need scraps of your Christmas fabric. So I've found these. The person I'm making a stocking for wanted the theme to be food, so I struggled a bit, but I did find these mice in hot chocolate and some candy canes. You're going to need 4 different strips of fabric, or you could use a lot more and make them narrow, but the way I make it, 4 different strips, about 4 or 5 inches wide, about 12 inches long. So contrasting strips. And then you're going to need a strip of calico, similar size, and this is where you're going to put your name. You're going to need some ribbon, any bits of ribbon to cover up the joins, some thread, decorative thread, or well, any really, but I think like a strong, bit like a floss works really well to sew on your letters. And then some templates for your letters. You can just print a font off the internet and use that, or you could draw out your own and make them out of cardboard like I did. And again, these have been going about 10 years too. You're also going to need a bit of heat and bond paper. So this is the paper that you can draw on and peel off, and it will iron onto the fabric that you're using. But this can be made from a lot of scraps, so it's quite a good project. First thing to do, oh my goodness, I've got a ton of calico here. Okay, first thing, you need to make 2 stocking shapes. Now calico doesn't have a right or a wrong side. That's why I like to use it. Makes life very easy, and I just literally plonk the template on and draw around it. It's really easy if you don't go off the edge of the table. So go all the way around it. That's why I find making a template out of cardboard works really well. You can sort of lean against it. So there's one, and do another one. I don't actually worry which direction I have the fabric for this. I just try and squeeze as many out as I can out of the calico. And it seems to work whatever, even when you do them diagonally across the fabric. It's very forgiving. So draw all the way around your templates, and you've got 2 stocking shapes. And then once you've drawn around them, cut them out on the pencil line. So once your 2 stocking shapes are cut out, you need to press them, but don't discard a nice chunk of calico like this, because you can trim it down into a strip ready for your name on another stocking. So we need to press these. I sometimes use best press. You don't have to. You can just use your iron on steam, but I like best press. Something about the smell of calico when it's ironed, I don't know what it is. It's like sort of cocoa-y, coffee, just a really nice smell. So you're going to put one of them aside as it's for the back. Decide which way you want your stocking to face. I like mine to face to the left. Doesn't matter, it's just a personal choice. So you want to make a little hem at the top so you don't have a raw edge. So turn it to the other side and just fold it over twice at the top. Again, I'm going to use best press because it just makes it a little bit easier. So you're folding over a little bit, maybe about ½ inch, something like that, centimetre. Press that down. And then, ooh, wobbly, isn't it? Fold it over again and press it again. Probably shouldn't put my phone on the ironing board to film. You folded that over twice so the raw edge is enclosed, and now I'm just going to top stitch along here. And you just need to stitch as close to the edge as you can. There we go. So now we've got a nice neat hem on the top. And the next thing to do is to make your name. So speaking from years and years of experience of making these for other people, make sure you've got the spelling right, just in case. So you need to draw your name out on your heat and bond paper. Remember to draw on the papery side, not on the shiny side. So I'm using this scrap that's absolutely falling apart, but I'm such a Scrooge, I'm not going to waste it. So got that. So remember, your letters are back to front. So this dog's actually called Roddy. I have found that the letters work best on a dark plain fabric. So I'm just going to iron these onto this, and it doesn't matter how you put them because you're going to cut them all out separately. So go and iron these onto this now. Right, you don't actually need to be so mean with fabric and things as I am. Oh dear. Right, so if this doesn't fit on properly, you can just chop them down and put them on higgledy-piggledy. So I think that's what I'll do. I could get a bigger piece of fabric. Just too mean. Make sure there's no bits on your fabric. Can we get all these on here? That's going to be a challenge. I'm not giving in. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. So what I like to do, I don't like to iron directly onto this because like here might be a little bit overlapping and you really don't want that on your nice iron. So I just use either a bit of muslin or some scrap fabric or even a clean tea towel. Just cover it over first. All right, and then we're just going to press it. So they recommend about 10 seconds holding over each piece. See if that's worked. Now you see it has actually stuck a bit to here with the overlapping bits, but it's worked. So we're going to leave that to cool. We just need an extra bit to do the O. And once they're cool to touch, it literally is only a minute or so, we can cut them out. I just usually do it over a little bin because it saves on getting the mess everywhere. And you just cut out on your lines that you've drawn. If you've got a letter like this one with as you know, with a circle in the middle, I tried cutting them out like by stabbing, but I have found the best way to do it is to cut directly to the circle, cut round, and then when you iron it onto the paper, it joins up and it's fine. You probably have proper templates, not like me bodging the letters out of bits of the other ones. Oh, look, I like these fat cartoon letters. But you can do any style. You could even free machine embroider the name, or you don't have to have a name really. So we're going to do the same thing again. Sometimes I like to make the hole a little bit bigger than the one I've actually drawn. And it doesn't have to be perfectly round as well. So there's our capital R. can see now, starting to take shape. Next thing is to put these onto our strip of calico. So, like I've said over the years, I've made quite a lot of these stockings. And one thing I've learned is that the length of the name depends on where you're going to put it on the stocking. So if you've got quite a long name, you need to put it across the foot, or a short name, say something like Tom, will fit along the top. So you need to play about to see where it's best for your letters to go. Okay, let's have a look. Here's our stocking. So your strip of calico, you've got a separate strip of calico, and this is what you're going to put the letters on. So lay it on your stocking about where you think it's going to look nice. It's not going to be stitched on. This is just to get the idea. So this is the top. I've gone about 4 inches down. I'm so wobbly today, honestly. I'm just going to press it on there. Now bear in mind, you've got to leave about a 1/2 inch all the way around, because that will be covered with ribbons either side and seam allowance here. So let's take the backing off these letters next. So you remember there's paper that you drew on. Easiest way to remove the paper, just make a tiny little tear. It comes away. You peel it off. And you're left, the back feels, it's a bit sticky as well. The back feels sort of rubbery. So we'll do that for all of them. Doesn't want to leave me off. Right, we've got all the letters. Sometimes it can be helpful to measure them along the edge of a ruler, so that you know that on the strip they're all going to be level. So having decided where I want my letters, having taken the back off, I'm going to start fiddling about with them to get them to all fit on here. Sometimes with these letters that I do that are quite fat, if there's a longer name, I do have to trim them down a little bit. But we'll start with the fat ones because I think they look cute. I think that's probably... Oh, we could itch along a bit there. Put them all closer together. If you find they don't fit on it, the foot of the stocking gives you just a little bit more. I think that's going to be a bit tight, so we'll go for the foot bit. So this is over the footer. This is where I put it here, like right across the foot. But now you want it to be more in the middle. I think that's not too bad. Push the capital up a little bit more. See what we've got left at each side. 2 inches at that side. 2 inches, but that's all right, I think. Right, I'm happy with the placement of his name. So the same thing again, going to use a bit of muslin. If you've got some sticky stuff on it, make sure you don't put that uppermost on your iron. So let's cover it over. We need to make sure that none of the letters move and that none of the little joins that we made on the O and the D come undone. And we're going to press it onto, remember this, none of this is fixed to your stocking. It's fixed to the strip of calico that we're using for the name. Because once this is ironed on, we're going to hand sew it on, and it's nice if all the stitches are hidden, so you don't see it when you look inside the stocking. That's the reason I do it like this. We might be about there. Let's have a look. Yep, I think that's pretty good. Next step is to hand sew round all the edges. You could do it by machine, but I think it looks quite nice hand sewn. So I normally just use a plain colour like embroidery floss, but I got this variegated one and thought that it might make quite an interesting effect. This is from Orifil, and it's just floss. It's called floss, but it just feels like cotton to me. So I'm going to find a needle with a big enough eye for this, and we'll get cracking on this. So you remember how we made the little cut to get into the circle? When you're sewing your letters on, I think it's always best to go over the join, so here, each time, even if you have to juggle your stitches about a bit to get that to work. But I've gone over the little join there, and I'll do the same in the centre as well, just to try and keep it in place. What we need to do next is put the name actually onto the stocking in the place where it's going to go. So remember how we did before? Put it like with your eyes, measure it with your eyes, and then check it with a ruler. That's what I do anyway. So this time we're 2.5 inches in from the edge, but we're not quite, so we need to go across a little bit. I think that's going to be about right. Go for that. So I'm going to pin this in place. I'm going to stitch this onto the stocking. Leave a bit to play with still, but get rid of the extra bit. So for this, I'm going to use my zigzag stitch. There we go. And I'm just going to leave it on whatever it comes up set as. What we're going to do is just zigzag along each raw edge and zigzag it directly onto the stocking. So don't bother about the sides, but so I've done the bottom, and now we're going to do along the top. I think the zigzag, it feels to me like the zigzag holds one onto the other better and helps a bit with fraying, whether that's what I've always been taught, that zigzags are helpful with fraying. Anyway, this is the method that I've used for years, and I have not had any complaints. So you can see I've zigzagged it on top and bottom. Don't worry about this frayingness here, because you're going to be covering that with ribbon. And next we want to decide how our fabric's going to go on. So we've got our name on. Okay, so these are the 4 fabrics that I've chosen. I think I need to give them a bit of a press first. Let's give them a press. Right, to decide which order they look best. Well, there's only one red one, so I think that should have a prime position somewhere like here. Maybe the black one there with the candy canes. There. This Santa-y one over the top, maybe. Get a bit with Santa on. The one that's at the bottom, you're going to see the smallest amount just because of the shape, well, of the way that I've done mine anyway. So, okay. I think the next thing to do is pin them on and get them zigzagged. The first time you do this, you might find it easier to do them one at a time. So that's what I'm going to do. So we'll start with this one. Don't want it that way or that way. No, I think that way is better. And it just needs to be either overlapping or on the edge of your zigzag. And zigzag that one on. Oops. Make sure they stay as level as you can. But don't worry if they go a bit skew-whiffed, because when you put the ribbon on, you can hide quite a few things. So you can see, again, I've zigzagged it, and here, maybe it's easier to see on the back, the zigzags actually more or less overlap each other, but it doesn't matter if they don't quite. And let's go on to our next colour. I think we're going to use the little mouse. Depending on your fabric, you might need to think about pattern placement. This one, I quite like the mouse with his hot chocolate, and this one in the cup. So I'm going to try and get them so that they show up well. Remember, you'll lose a bit top and bottom and sides of your fabric. I think that looks about okay. As you can see, there's not a lot of measuring in this. It's very rustic. There we go, that's the mouse sewn on. Now at any point you feel it's getting a bit unwieldy with the extra flaps, we can trim them off before we do the next bit. So let's turn it over. You might not have been as wasteful as me, but I'm just going to trim right round the edge of the stocking now, so I can cut off all the excess bits before we progress to the next bit. It doesn't matter if you cut a bit wide, because there's another trimming down bit when we put the stocking together. Just don't go too short. There we go. Okay, that's those bits. So you'll see it's starting to take shape. Okay, let's get onto the top bit. So I went for this one with the slightly Nordic Santa. This was from, both of these in fact, were from a lovely company called Dashwood Studios, which actually this year went into administration, which is such a shame because they had lovely designers, and I'm hoping that the designers might resurface with another fabric company. because the designs were just lovely. Ah, well, right. Yeah, I had all the Christmas and Halloween collections ordered for this year and none of them arrived, so anyway, that's me done moaning. Right, it is a bit long, so I'll chop it a little bit shorter. Same again, we're going to zigzag this one on, and we might as well put the bottom one on as well because they're far enough apart now. So the bottom one, I'm going to put, there we go. This is really, we're only going to use a tiny bit of this, so you could perhaps manage with a narrower strip. I have been quite wasteful with this. With the bottom piece, you're only just going to sew the top because there's not much to do on the bottom and it's going to be joined in on the seam allowance. So the very bottom one, you just need to zigzag this line. Okay, we'll do the same again and you'll see just how much I've wasted on this. Could have done a 2-inch strip for this, but this will be good for something else. So we'll cut, we'll cut this off. And at the top as well, the extra bits. Okay, starting to take shape now. Next thing is the ribbon. So for the top, you're going to need your widest ribbon that you've got. So I found this, which I thought would work quite well. But it's going to cover up Santa Claus's hat. Wonder what else have I got? Stripey. Possibly. This one's quite nice, sort of gold glittery. I think that's probably, I don't know, the stripey was quite nice, but it's just not quite. It's going to show some of the zigzags. So I'm going to go for this one. Oh, I think I found the perfect one. I think this one's going to be better. It's like a red velvet. Yes, that's going to be nice. Let's go for that. So you need a piece of ribbon for each join. So take a bit of time sorting out what's going to go. So once you've decided, you need to pin your ribbon on, making sure any straggly bits are hidden away. You can always trim them after. So I have used this one because I think Roddy's owner likes cars. Contrast. You can save ribbons from gift wrap and bath sets. I quite often have nice ribbons on, and one of my local stores just has bundles of ribbon that you can buy. I think that's where I got this one from. It was about 40p in a little bundle. And then this one, I like this. I think a gingham checky always looks nice on things, and that sort of lifts that dark one a bit, I think. Oh, that pin's really bent. Make sure that looks straight. Go. That's a bit. Oop. That's going to look nice, I think. Make sure that you go right to the top on this one. It looks level. It always seems to be a bit cockeyed at the top, but that's it. There we go. We are making progress. So the next thing is to stitch the ribbon down. So to stitch the ribbons on, I'm just going to use top stitch. So that's just the standard stitch on my machine. It's number 1 on mine. There we go. And you're going to stitch along each edge of the ribbon. And you might need to go quite slow to keep your stitches level. Take my pins out. Side, and we'll do the other side of that one. See how that looks? So actually it sort of disappears into this sort of ribbon. So we're going to go and do all the rest now. Okay, so we've got all the ribbons nicely stitched on. I'm going to trim the edges off. So the front's done. Now we've got to make the back. So the back is just literally the other stocking shape that you cut out. So this doesn't have a right or a wrong side. So we'll have the finished stocking front right side up, and we'll put one of these on top and adjust them. There's always some overlap. And let's go over and get this pressed. Okay, so we're over to the ironing board. We need to press this one. So this one, we need to make the top hem. So I always do it at this stage so that you can make them exactly the same, because do you remember we folded it over and sometimes it doesn't turn out exactly right. What have I done with best press? Here we are. Right. So the same thing as before, fold over once and then fold over again. So the first one's just so that we can enclose the raw edge. And then we're going to fold this one over and level it up with the top of the other one. Oh, I just love the smell of calico when you press it. Oh. Okay. And the next step is to stitch this down, just using the straight stitch, so I'll go and do that. And that's all stitched down. The advantage of doing this is at the end as well is you get the hem the right way round, so it's going to be on the inside. So, okay, so we'll line those up again, and again I'll give them another quick press, because as much as anything it sometimes helps hold them together. I'm going to pin all the way round now. Okay. I'm just going to pin all the way round to keep everything together. There we go. So what we need to do next is go round and trim off all the excess. I do like a seaside bucket. Very useful. So that's that side level, and we'll go to the other side because they never really match up very well. I think because I always do this in quite a rushy sort of way, because it is a nice, quick, simple project. That side's okay. Do this side. Oop. Now we're ready to stitch. So on this, we're going to use straight stitch again, and sew about 1/2 inch, perhaps a bit less, in. I'm going to sew all the way round. Obviously, we're going to leave the top open. When I do at each end, I go backwards and forwards a few times just to reinforce it. It can be, as you go around the curves, a little bit fiddly, so go steady on the curves. One tip for getting around corners is leave your needle down, your presser foot up, and you can swing the fabric a little bit either way to help change direction. My machine has a function that leaves the foot slightly up as it stops, so I don't have to do that step. But it helps you get around corners. That curve's the most tricky. And remember to go backwards and forwards a bit. Reverse always goes so slow on my machine. Check both sides that you've caught all the fabric and you haven't missed any bits. Let's take these pins out now. Okay, so next what we want to do, because we've got some curves, we need to make a little snip up to the stitch line very carefully, not cutting the stitch line. Just a few. And that means that when we turn it the right way round, the curves will smooth out a little bit and not pull. So I just do a few. I don't know if you can see how far I've done. You can't really see, so not quite up to the stitch line, but just basically anything will help, especially on this bit. This is the worst bit. So this is, if you're worried about doing them, this is the place you need to do them, and the heel as well. on here. I think that might do it. Moment of truth. Turn it the right way round. Right, here goes. Pop your hand in. Fingers crossed it's going to work. And pulling it the right way round. Poke your fingers into all the curves. There we go. And I think we are getting there. Going to need a bit of a press now. So I've always done the backs of mine plain because I made such a lot. There's no reason you can't do it double-sided. Just follow the same technique. And you don't have to have a name either. If you didn't want to have a name, you could just put some more Christmas fabric there. Let's get it pressed. If you've used some ribbon like this, you might be worried about if it will damage on the iron. Do it from the back, or again, use your piece of muslin or a tea towel to cover it with. Let's give this a go. You can get this little crease out. Oh, that's looking good. Only one step left. Well, more or less one. Let's have a look then how that looks now. I think that looks quite nice. We've got to put a hanging loop in now. So you don't have to do this, but I tend to make the hanging loop from the same ribbon as the top. So if you're only using scraps, you might not have enough left. I guess about 10 inches is what you need, but the best way to do it is to make a loop that you think, it depends, like if you've got it to a little hook or if you've got a great big banister for it to hang over. It's going to determine your loop. So I'm going to go, I think about that should be okay. Usually I do it's about 10 inches. Okay. And what we're going to do is this side, we're going to put it on the seam, just here. So raw edges in, maybe about half an inch there, and we're going to machine it. And how I do it is I go round all 4 squares and across in the middle, and that should hold it nice and firm. This bit can sometimes be a bit clunky to get round your machine, and if you prefer to hand sew it, that might make your life easier. But I'm going to go with the machine. Have to lift the presser foot up for this, so I'm going to go round. It's a battle sometimes. Round each edge. Oops. Across the top. Let's trim that little bit off. Yep, so we've got our hanging loop, and it doesn't look too messy on the outside once we trim those threads. And there we go, the finished stocking. My studio is so busy. I'll try and find a plain wall so you can see it better. Well, I think At least you can see it there.